Hey everyone, welcome to Buick Outdoors. If you're new around here, my name is Sheldon Marion, and today I'm out along the banks of the Peace River out in northern BC and seeing how it is berry picking season. And I found myself a nice little batch of choke cherries. I'm picking up some choke cherries. I'm gonna make some choke cherry syrup. Well, when I still lived out in Buick, I had a phenomenal neighbor, Caroline. One move that she taught me there, I seen her picking her raspberries the one day. She had a bucket through her belt loop. So, do the old trick from Caroline. Put your bucket on your belt. There you go, you're good to go. Now you got some hands-free picking, and you don't have to worry about your bucket. One thing you have to be careful with these choke cherries is the pits, the leaves, and apparently the bark as well, that they all have a little bit of cyanide in them. You can eat these raw, but you don't want to eat too many of them. Plus, when they're raw, they're kind of like a cranberry almost. They're not exactly sweet, they're pretty bitter and sour. They make phenomenal syrup and jelly though. But one thing is, you don't want to let any pets or animals eat them, especially the pits. With the pits there's been stories of people where their horses or the cows or whatever have gotten into these, and they ate so many of them that the pit itself went into the stomach, and pretty well they ingested a lethal dose of cyanide and it actually killed them. So just be mindful of that. When you cook them though, apparently it gets rid of it all. We've never had any problems with that. But even after cooking them, I would take the pits and I'd just throw them into the garbage. I wouldn't want to put them into your compost or soil or anything like that. Just to be sure, be on the safe side of things. But my family, we've been picking these for quite a while. I actually haven't picked them in a long time because I haven't found any. But along the banks of the Peace, down in the Alberta side, down by like Dunvegan, we found a big patch down there. And this was quite a few years ago, but my dad, my auntie, my grandpa, my grandma, we all went down there and we picked a whole pile of them, made some choke cherry syrup. And yeah, it was excellent stuff. But these choke cherries, for whatever reason, you don't really find them growing around overly too much. So when I find them, I'm gonna pick them. With these choke cherries too, they're kind of like a cranberry, where it doesn't really take overly too much to make a lot of syrup. So we're not going to spend too much time out here today picking these, but yeah, we'll pick enough to make a couple of jars of syrup. And for the most part, I'll probably end up giving most of it away. I enjoy syrup and all that stuff, but I'm kind of on a bit of a strict diet right now, not eating any breads and pancakes and waffles and for all the good food that makes the world go around. So this stuff here, it's more of just a project, and yeah, something to give you guys a video, get you excited about going out and picking them. You can see it doesn't, they're not hard to pick. They're pretty sporadic though. They don't grow in like real big clusters and clumps, but yeah, they're pretty good berry anyways. Now if you look at these choke cherries, I'll pull one off the stem here for you. You can see right here it has the same little kind of stem like a cherry does. kind of looks like a cherry. Then even if you break them apart, try not to squirt myself in the eye. You break it apart, there's a really, really big seed in there. There we go, we do the old redneck wash. So you can see the pit. They're actually fairly large, and it's, like I said, it's just like a cherry. I mean, that's why they call it a choke cherry, except they're not nearly as sweet as a cherry. Quite bitter, but once as you cook them down, pull like the natural sweetness out of them, and then you also have to add a little bit of sugar to these when you're cooking them, and they turn out really good. You know, like, it looks like a little baby cherry. Also, when you eat these raw, it can make your kind of, not really numb, but you get a little bit of a tingle on your tongue if you eat them raw. When I was out here the other day, when I first found these, I ate about 3 or 4 of them. And with that, you know, you don't eat the pit. I just kind of, whatever, bite the pit, spit the pit out, kind of a thing. And yeah, so after only about whatever it was, you know, 4 or 5 berries, you could definitely feel a tingle on my tongue for a little while, and that lasted, oh, I don't know, about an hour or two. And pretty sure that's just from the cyanide that's in these. So again, you know, I keep mentioning cyanide just because I don't want anybody to get sick from eating the pits or feeding these to your animals and having your animals getting sick or potentially dying, you know. I'd hate to see that to happen to anybody's pets and animals or kids and stuff like that. I don't know how toxic they are to people. I don't think I've really heard of anybody dying from eating choke cherries, but it's part of the warning label, I guess, according to Google. So yeah, just be mindful when you're eating these. It's best to kind of cook them down and make some syrup or jam out of them anyways. Well, I've been picking here for a little bit now. Looks like a hungry bear kind of went through here. Got all the berries off of some of these branches. There's still quite a bit out back, and there's some trees right around the corner, but yeah, I got a little bit of berries here anyways. So now I think what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna round up the old dogs here, and yeah, we'll make our way back to the house and we'll start cooking on these and make some syrup. Well, we made her back into the kitchen here, and I'm just kind of getting everything all prepped here in the kitchen, getting ready to start making up our syrup. So we have our choke cherries right here, table masher, spoon, sugar. We have our snap caps there, they'll be getting kind of, you simmer them, you get them hot so the wax ring around it kind of softens up. We have our pot for cooking our syrup. We have our strainer, cheesecloth. So the cheesecloth, it's for removing all the pits and the skins. And to this pot, we'll be finishing it. Then we just have our canning tools. This is for getting it out of the water bath counter, which our jars are already in there and they're submerged in hot water. Eventually we'll put them on the burner and heat those up. We have our funnel for filling everything. Our little magnetic lid grabber, because you don't want to be putting your fingers in that hot water. And then also you want to keep your fingers away from that seal. But anyways, I'm going to turn on our pot, get our berries going, and start cooking up some syrup. Well, I got the berries into the pot here, and I just put the flame on her. We're cooking at about a 4 right now, and we're just going to slowly bring these up to temperature. I don't like using pectin, so I'm not putting any water in here. There's enough water and natural pectin in these choke cherries, hopefully. And so pretty well what I'm doing now is I'm just cooking these until they pretty well start getting hot, and they'll kind of start to sweat a little bit. And once they start doing that, grab the old handy dandy masher, and we'll get to mashing these up. But for right now, it's just a waiting game until these get hot. So once they heat up, I'll turn this all back on, and we'll get to mashing these up. Okay, so I had to trim this down to about a 3 here. They're getting just a little too hot, but as I turn them, you can hear that sizzle, and you can see on the spoon there, they're starting to sweat a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this potato masher, and I'm going to start mashing these up and start to pretty well extract the juices out of them and release all the juice, the water, kind of get the pits out, break up the skin a little, all that good stuff. So this process here, it takes a little bit of time having to squish them all up, but eventually there they get going here, and it's not too bad. I like using this potato mash just because there's so much surface area. There's nothing for them to really squish through. And yeah, like I said, this part here, this is about the most tedious. After this, it's all pretty straightforward and easy. But yeah, as this cooks up some more, they'll start to soften up a bit, and they'll start cooking in their own juices, and then we will slowly be able to run them through the cheesecloth and all that stuff, get the pits and skins out, and we'll be left with the syrup, and that's when we will start finishing and prepping all of our jars. Okay, so I've been mashing away at these for quite a few minutes now, and we're kind of getting to the point where there's a lot of juice in there, and I had to turn it down a little bit more here yet. I'm down to about a 2 on the old burner, and with this burner it's low to 6, so 2 being pretty well low. Anyways, we're getting it here now where it's, I'm pretty sure all the skins are broken up for the most part. Once you kind of stop, smack that off, you can see it slowly starts to kind of boil. So I'm going to let these cook in their own juices for just a couple more minutes here, and then just to soften it up a little bit extra. And then once that's done, we will grab our strainer and cheesecloth, and we'll run this through, and then we'll try to get all of the pits and skins out and squeeze out all the juice, and we will start adding sugar and all that good stuff. And you know, with these choke cherries, because the pits are so big, it looks like we have a ton of berries and a ton of juice, but really there isn't going to be overly too much, because in this pot probably 2/3 of that is pits. But anyways, we're going to keep going here. We're almost done, and we'll get this into the cheesecloth. Okay, so I think I can do all I can do for now. You can see here it's slowly boiling, and you can see all the juice that's in there. So I think that's about as much as I can extract just in the pot here itself. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. I have this little wire strainer, and I took just some cheesecloth. It comes in big rolls. I just took what I needed there, cut it off, overlapped it, and we'll put our berries into here, and we'll use the spoon to kind of squish it down a little bit. And then before we finish it off there, we'll grab that bag and we'll just turn it by hand and just really squeeze all that juice out. Oh yeah, we're getting a little bit more juice out of her now. Yeah, we're getting a little bit more out of her. This process obviously is going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to keep going for a little while, and then I'll let you guys know just how much juice we get out of this. Well, we're running into a bit of a snag here, which is winging it. You can see here, I got a little bit of syrup out of that. It's not looking too bad. It's incredibly thick as is. But what I'm going to be doing here is I took all the pits and I put them into the pot with just a little bit of water, maybe a 1/4 cup or so. And I'm just going to see if I can cook out any more little bits of juices and stuff like that. Because even this, you know, I squeezed the devil out of that, and I got quite a bit. But for how thick it is, I don't think a little bit of water is gonna hurt. Plus, we still have to add some sugar, so it's gonna thicken it up even more. So now that I got these pits in this water, and also too, the water that we add to this syrup, we can just boil it out, so it's not a big deal. So I'm just seeing if I can get just a little bit more out of it. You can see the pits themselves, they're pretty well like gray almost. Like I put the muscle to that cheesecloth. I blew it out in a couple of spots, kind of a thing. But now, yeah, I'm just gonna cook this down a little bit and see if I can just extract a little bit more. And then maybe if you guys make this recipe, what you should do possibly is actually start with water in the pot, and then if you want it thicker, maybe add pectin. I don't really like using pectin, but anyways, this is what I'm doing. And I'm just going to let this cook a little bit longer. Then I'll put it through the strainer, probably without the cheesecloth. And then we will go from there. We'll start adding sugar and thickening it up and boiling all this water off. Alrighty, so here comes attempt number 2. We'll see how much more we get out of it. Enough. Looking a little bit better, and these pits even, there was a little bit of color left in them. The juice is coming out, and there is some red to it, so it's not just strictly water that we're putting back into it. And that's the joy of kind of doing this stuff and learning and all that. Next time, maybe I'll try a different way, or maybe this one will turn out just fine. Yeah, it's all part of the process. But I think we're almost to the bottom here of what we can really squeeze out. So once we do this, I'll get these pits out of the way, and we'll see how this syrup is looking. So we got that water kind of put in here now. It's pretty runny now, but honestly, it looks quite a bit better. One nice thing is, like with this stuff too, where it's sitting right now, it smells just absolutely delicious. It's kind of like a cross between almost like strawberries and apples. Yeah, kinda. One thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this get us a little taste here. Ooh, I'll make it pecker. Oh my jeez. Alrighty. Well, we'll put this onto the stove here, and we'll get a little bit of sugar going in it. And whew, that's really tart stuff. We might have to add a lot of sugar. So maybe that bit of water that we did put in there, it'll actually help out quite a bit, because for how thick it was, yeah, I think that would have turned into more of a paste than anything. So anyways, once this warms up, it's back on here. I'll set this to about maybe a 3 until it starts to steam, and then we'll stir in, honestly, probably about a 1/4 cup of sugar. Maybe even a little bit more just to start off, and we'll go from there. Well, our syrup here is coming back up to almost a boil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my sugar. Can't find my 1/4 cup measuring cup, so I'm just going to put in 1/2 cup of sugar. Honestly, for how potent this stuff is, I don't think it's really going to hurt. So we're going to put in, I don't know, the whole thing, I guess. 1/2 cup. Like I said, I'm just kind of winging this one. It's not exactly a real recipe or anything like that. And I'm just going to mix this in, and we'll see how this goes. Once I get it all mixed in, it's nice and smooth again, I'll do another taste test and see if we have to add any more sugar. We'll see if half a cup does the job. I'm hoping half a cup does the job, because man, that's a whole lot of sugar. Well, we're starting to get this figured out now. I added that half a cup of sugar, stirred it all in, got it all nice and dissolved, took a sip, and we need a lot more sugar. So I end up putting in about another half a cup. So basically, if you're gonna be making this for every, I say for about every cup of juice that you have in here, you need a cup of sugar. It is extremely potent, and I don't like sweet stuff whatsoever. And so this here, it's a bit sweet, and it's starting to thicken up already. You can see it kind of trying to ride the back of that spoon, but we're also making just, you know, thin syrup. We're not making real thick syrup for this. This is kind of, you know, like a good pancake topper. It's not exactly you're gonna make peanut butter and jam sandwiches with it, kind of a thing. So I'm just gonna cook this down a little bit longer, and then we'll get to canning this up. So before we actually get into the whole canning process here, I cannot stress this enough. You guys, you need to get a good canning book. The guys from Bernardin, they make an extraordinary book. Even right here, we're just gonna follow this simple little rundown. And you know, inside here, you have the step-by-step how-tos. You have all the gear and stuff that you need. All the times, elevations, everything like that. And then there's also just a pile of recipes in here as well. And they tell you how to pickle, how to make jams, meats, soups, vegetables, fruits. You know, there's everything in there. So other than the actual safe procedures on how to do this, so you don't get botulism and potentially hurt or kill somebody. It also gives you a ton of amazing recipes in here, and this is stuff that you absolutely have to follow. You know, you can be like me, you can screw up a recipe all day, every day, nobody gets hurt. If you screw up this part, the canning itself, you can seriously harm somebody if they get botulism. So please keep that in mind. Get yourself a canning book and follow it to a T. Use real jars. Use the real lids. You know, don't cut corners on this part, please. I'm begging you. But anyways, our jars here, they're pretty well ready to go. They're getting boiled, or not boiled, but heated up and sanitized. Our lids are in there. They're getting nice and hot. I pretty well turned that down to a low now. You see just a little bit of steam coming off of there. That's all you need. Same with this, it just needs to be at a simmer. You can see there's little boils starting to kind of start in there, so we'll turn that right down as well. And that doesn't need to boil until we actually get this stuff in there. So now, looking at our syrup, we'll do the old spoon test. And again, I'm not looking for really thick stuff. I'm just looking for it to be a little bit thicker than this. And you can see how it's just kind of licking the back of that spoon when you go to pour it off. So it's pretty well done. So the next time that we turn the camera back on here, we'll be pulling our jars out of the counter there, filling them up, putting the lids on them, and then we'll be pretty well sealing these up and getting them canned up. Well, I don't know how many jars I actually need, so I just pulled out 4 for right now. Just pull them out of the water bath canner so they're nice and hot. Grab my funnel. We're going to fill these up to about 1/4 inch from the top. Which is right about there. I think I'm just going to move this other one over. There we go. Alrighty, got those nice and full. Get this one out of the way. Check our tops, make sure there's nothing on these seals. They look pretty good. Now we're gonna grab this. Grab some lids. Those on. And then with these, we put this on. You don't want to go overly too tight, just kind of finger tight. Don't muscle that on there at all. Man, that syrup's hot. Woo. Alrighty. So now that we got our jars all ready here, and grab them, put them into the scanner. Now, according to the book, we need at least 1 inch of water above, so you can take this. I'll use the non-magnetic side. See how much water we got there. And we got almost 2 inches of water above them, above the cans there. So now what we'll do is we'll turn this onto pretty well high, and we'll bring this up to a boil, and we'll just double check what the book says here. Place jar and counter. When all jars are filled, adjust hot water in counters. The jars are covered by at least 1 inch of water. Cover counter, bring water to a full rolling boil, and then boil them. So here it says it's the baseline is 10 minutes, and that's up to 1,000 feet in elevation. Because where we are here, we have to adjust the time by 5 minutes. So once this comes to a rolling boil, we'll grab the lid, we'll put the lid on, and then we'll boil this for 15 minutes just because of our elevation. It's lighter air up here. I say up here, it's the first notch up. But anyways, we had to boil it for 15 minutes, and then when it's done, we'll read the book again, see what happens there, if we have to let it cool down to room temperature, or if we can just pull them out and let them cool on the shelf. But anyways, once this comes up to rolling boil, we'll throw the lid on, we'll boil it for the 15 minutes. Then when that's up, we'll go from there. Again, we'll refer back to the book, and we'll do everything right. Well, our water bath counter here, it's almost to a rolling boil. So we're gonna come over to the old book here, and we're gonna look at this elevation section here. And you can see here, elevations higher than 1,000 feet increase processing time for high acidic foods. So here, I know that we live right around 700 to 800 meters. So here, you can't really see it, but it says between 300 and 915 meters. Increase processing time by 5 minutes. And your base at like sea level is 10 minutes. So according to the book, we have to increase it by 5 minutes. So now, we're pretty well at a rolling boil. I'll grab my lid. Lid goes on, creates a seal. The steam from that rolling boil creates pressure. The pressure kills all the microorganisms, and when it's pressurized, it gets even a little bit hotter. So yeah, this way it kills absolutely everything that's in that jar. That's not good for you. And I'll turn this down to about a 5. Maybe, yeah, somewhere around there, 5 or 6, to keep that rolling boil going. Yeah, turn back up to 6 instead of a high. But anyways, I'm gonna set my timer now to 15 minutes. And then once it's 15 minutes is up, it says turn off the heat, let it sit and wait until the water comes to a stop. And once that happens, we're able to gently lift the jars out without tilting them, set them to the side, and let them cool off. So we're gonna set our timer to 15 minutes, and then in 15 minutes we'll come over and we will take it off the heat, let it cool down, pull it out, let it sit to the side, and then as it cools you get that really distinctive popping noise when the seals actually pop in. And yeah, if you've done a lot of canning before, it'll just bring back, you know, memories of your childhood kind of a thing. But anyways, guys, we'll leave this for 15 minutes, come back when it's done, pull it off the heat, and then pretty well we're almost done. Well, the water's quit moving here, and it's slowly starting to cool down, so we were able to take the lid off, and we're going to try our best to get these out of there without tipping them. Put them here on our drying rack, aka towel. And one more. And there we go. Yeah, you hear a little ding dong. Alrighty, so now we're gonna let them sit here and cool off. And you'll pretty well hear them popping and stuff. According to the book, you're supposed to let them cool for 24 hours and check the jar seals. Make sure that the seals are actually intact. You just can't touch the top. If they're not sunken in, when you push the top, you can feel it denting in. So if that's the case, it didn't seal properly. And then once it's all said and done, after 24 hours, you can leave these bands on, or you can take them off. It's up to you. For me, we've always just left them on. But anyways, guys, I hope you liked that video. I hope you liked experimenting with choke cherries with me. It was a bit of a run, but we were able to get it all figured out. We got our choke cherry syrup all jarred up, ready to go, and ready for some pancakes. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed that video, hit like, comment, leave me a comment there. Let me know if you guys have made choke cherry syrup before and how it turned out and how you guys made it. Obviously, there's a lot more ways than one way of doing this. But anyways, yeah, like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.